We are now halfway through 2024, which is crazy to say. What the heck happened in 2024? Where did it go? Like, I was absent from this channel pretty much, so like it's been crazy. But we're already halfway through it. And yet, there are still many games I am looking forward to. These campaigns on crowdfunding, both on Kickstarter and GameFound, are where these lie. I'm super pumped about still. I'm excited for them. I'm looking forward to them. Some of them are coming really soon. Some of them are coming a little bit later. Some of them are coming maybe at the end of this year, maybe even the beginning of next year. We'll see. They don't quite have a date yet. But either way, I'm pumped for these. So if you were curious on what I'm looking forward to, what I'm saving up my pennies for, this is them. So I'm excited to show this to you guys. All right, I know all of you old guard have heard this before, but if you are new or if you just need a reminder, it is great to make lists. Granted, top 10 lists and stuff like that work well on YouTube because they conceptualize, something that's really high up, right? In other words, it gets rid of all the noise. But that's good for you too. I highly suggest you make your own list. When it comes to these crowdfunding campaigns particularly, they build up a lot of hype, they build up a lot of following, and that's easy to get sucked into, that FOMO or anything like that, right? Like it's very easy to. And if you don't stay focused on the big things that are coming up that you know are coming up, it's easy to blow the budget early and then not have room to go as all in as you want, or hurt the bank, or otherwise not be as financially sound a decision to back it as well as other stuff. I've even seen people have to ask for refunds, stuff like that. It's not fun. Make a list, focus on what you're most adamant about, and hit those hard. The other ones, less so. That's my advice to you. And if you want to share those lists, down in the description, down in the comments below, actually, please share that with me so that I know what you guys are looking forward to, and let me know where I align with you. Now, without further ado, let's go and jump right in. This is not a full top 10. It is a top, I think, 7 or so. You don't need to artificially inflate it to 10. I'm not going to do that just because it's a YouTube video. There are 7 I'm looking at right now. These are them. Starting out with Grim Coven. Grim Coven by Awakened Realms launches in like 3 days at the time of recording. By the time you guys see this, I think it'll be 2 days from me recording this because I'd like to have a day where I don't work all day, so we'll see. But, it's whatever. It's whatever. It's what my weekends are. This should be launching any day now, like tomorrow for you kind of thing, right? So I'll link to all these in the description below, so feel free to check those out, of course. But Grim Coven by Awakened Realms looks to be really, really good. Now, they show 37,000 people are following this, but it's a GameFound follow, which I think is even less impactful than a Kickstarter one because a lot of people just follow for this free gift thing, and that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a swap to actually being there. I think you can do that, right? I've seen it happen before, just like I've seen it happen on Kickstarter and other places like that as well. But I don't. I think it inflates the number. My opinion, at least. I don't have any data on that. So either way, it's going to be big, though. It's Awakened Realms. It's on GameFound. It's going to do great. They're going to have stretch pay. And this isn't like it's a game that's necessarily going to charge you a lot. However, Awakened Realms, they love to add everything, including the kitchen sink, so you can get all these resin minis, you can get this plushie, and you can get this throw blanket, and you could get this custom tattoo. I don't know. They throw all sorts of stuff in there. So we'll see. That being said, this is kind of interesting. It gives me a little Bloodborne vibes. I'm a huge Bloodborne fan, so that's exciting. I do like that. They even have hunters and whatnot. There was a whole thing about the AI art, but they've fixed that since then, and you either are okay with that or not. I don't care about the solo at all, but I know a lot of people will. Essentially, you get to have a tag along, right? The typical thing that you've seen since Oathsworn, really. But it does have the co-op, which is cool. You're pretty much just fighting bosses. There are story scenarios strewn throughout, but it's really this one-off thing, which is interesting. I'm not as big of a fan as one-off. I do like stories. However, I have a lot of those. And when I look at my game collection, it's behind me. You can't see it. It's the camera is facing away from it right now. So you see just the nerd stuff back there. But there's a whole wall of board games here. And so I'm keen on what stands out among all of those. What would I pick this up above others? And having a one-off like this, definitely it differentiates it, right? And it's a differentiator that I think most of us are looking for. Okay, So we have the $59 standard edition. This has the token standees. I assume about an eighth or less of the people will back that. That tends to be the case. I just read an update from another creator that I will talk to you about in a future video where they dive into some of the statistics. And one of the reasons they canceled their Kickstarter campaign was because they tried to offer something like this so that anybody could play that wanted to play. But it ended up costing them money because it's not because they're going to get the 500 minimum at this skill the Awakened Realms might. But for the most part, I think a lot of people really focus on that. Not very many do it. So we'll see. But in general, people want the minis. I don't think necessarily it's because of the minis. I think a lot of it is because we're buying this physical board game and we want it to be as pimped out as possible, which makes sense. And, minis certainly do that. As you can see, only 4 hunters from the base game, right? And then their corrupted hunter counterparts, and then grief hounds and minions and portals and elites. Not a whole lot here, okay? That being said, there is going to be a whole stretch goal box, which a whole bunch of stuff like that. But I am assuming a handful of expansions at the very least. And when it's one-off, when it's not story related, I think it's quite easy to theme things and just, hey, here's a miniature pack of stuff with the components for it. Now you can slot this in, slot that in. So I don't know what to expect on here, but it looks pretty cool. It looks, I dig it. I'm excited for this. I think it looks great. This asymmetric hunters is probably the only thing I'm really worried about here. It says each hunter comes with unique components and mechanics. Now, I got rid of Massive Darkness 2 because of this. There were so many different ways to play the game, and all the characters play different, all these classes, right? And the bard plays different than the ranger, which plays different than the paladin, or whatever it was, right? So one person's turning into a raccoon, another person's playing this card game to snipe shot an enemy and all that. It's cool in theory, but when it came to setup, when it came to explaining it to new players, I did not enjoy that part at all. So we'll see how different they are. Hopefully they're not so different that it's like you have to learn all these different rule sets for a whole bunch of different, or they keep the count down when it comes to the types of hunters there are. So that's, we'll see. But either way, it looks good. I'm excited for it. I think the minis look cool. I think they did a great job on the art, as always, of course. The quality is there. I love the custom dice that I'm seeing as I scroll through. Like, a lot of it looks super cool. I dig it. So I'm willing to give it a shot, but I am curious. That's why it's kind of on the lowest end. That being said, we're gonna find out like any time now. So I'm pumped for it. Cyberpunk 2077, the board game. This is one I've been excited about ever since I learned about it, and then I got to play it at Essen Spiel, and I loved my time with it. Now, they've released more information on the gameplay, which means I get to talk about it more. So I've been kind of mum on this for a while. You've probably seen me right around there talking about how much I loved it, and I did. I thought I had a blast with it. So if you go to updates, and again, I'll link down to this in the description below, of course, but this latest one here has a 13-minute video where Lucas really talks about this really, really well, which is nice. He really kind of explains it, right? First of all, app is optional. You don't have to use the app. That being said, it's definitely highly recommended. The app is focused on you not paying attention to it, which I appreciate. You don't really have to interact with it a whole lot. You just have to do it a few times, and even then, it's just a click a button, and you're good to go again. It actually has audible cues, so you know stuff. So it's really just in the background as a convenient timer. You can time it as any time you want. Now, this pointing at this, you see it right there. You could see that. Let me use my actual pointer on the screen. This stab, sequential timed action phase thing. I saw in the comments a lot of people didn't like that. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. So essentially, you go in and you have this plan. You're talking with everybody around the table. You're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to go in. I'm going to bust down this door, and I'm going to like shoot that guy there. You're going to go and hack that system over there, and then you need to go to that side quest over there because we need the side quest, and we're going to try and do that, right? And then after you make the plan, so it's kind of like a programming kind of set where like you make your turn plan, and then you have to go do it. And it's timed, and you do a thing, and then they do a thing, and then they do a thing, and then you do a thing, and then they do a thing, and then they do it, and then you, and it goes around like that, right? But the problem is, I could botch it. And now suddenly you're having to frantically like figure out what to do again. And then afterwards, time's up, then it's a refresh. As they explain it, you duck behind cover or whatever, you have a quick chat with the guy next to you, right? Okay, well, what's the plan now? You botched that one, good job, and that's literally what Lucas and I did as we played it. It was actually a lot of fun to do that. That being said, now, and this is a secret, guys, there are no board game police. Nobody is going to tattle if you don't follow the timer. Don't use a timer. I mean, I know people have different feelings on house rules, but seriously, guys, that's one of the great things about board games. And actually, it makes me think we need to define apps in different ways, right? We've talked about helper apps, but really what we need to do is judge apps based off of how much they force a certain style of game play, right? And so, for instance, if you're like rolling the dice in the app, it's hard to lie about what the dice roll was, or that you rolled more or whatever, or that you killed the guy or didn't, right? So if it tracks it at that level, that's very different than something that's a timer that you can just freaking ignore if you want it, or not even use it at all. And they did say that. You can, just use any stopwatch you want, or again, you could just not time it. Like, nobody's going to tattle. It's fine. The SWAT police aren't going to like break through the window and arrest you for breaking a rule in a board game. Anyway, I had a lot of fun with it though, because of that franticness and then the pause, and then you discuss how it went, and so for me, again, that differentiator. It's different than the other stuff I have, kind of similar to Six Siege in a way, but I loved the co-op part of this. So you get to make that plan, try and do it, fail, or adjust on the fly, and I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was cool. And there's some good RPG elements as well when it comes to leveling up your character, which I think is important for Cyberpunk. So I'm excited for this one as well. Okay, next one is Mythic Battle Isfet. Now this one I actually just recently did an unboxing of, so if you're new to the channel, welcome of course. If you haven't seen that unboxing or you missed it because the algorithm's still forgiving me from taking a break from YouTube, then of course you can go ahead and see that. In fact, I'll try and link it down in the description below. I'll try to remember that as well. But either way, unboxed it, looks great. Reminds me a lot of the Ragnarok. Reminds me a lot of the Pantheon. If you love the system, I do. I love the stat changes and the army building that they've been doing and stuff like that. Then you're gonna enjoy this, of course. It's Egyptian themed. I'm excited about that. My wife's excited about that. It's definitely one of the games we enjoy playing a lot of. And it's a skirmish game. And as a skirmish game, you know it. Variety is king, right? It's why I have like 7 armies in Warhammer 40,000, right? It's because when it comes to 40k, I need not just a Necron army, not just a Death Guard army, not just a Sisters of Battle army, not just a Space Marine army, not just a Chaos army, not just a Tyranid, right? I love the variety, and in each of those armies, I want a whole bunch of units so I can mix and match it, because at the end of the day, I love army building. That's really I love army building. I play card deck games just to build decks, pretty much. It is what it is. So I'm pumped for this. This is coming out soon as well. And again, almost 10,000 followers, so not too shabby at all. They will be doing a Ragnarok reprint. I have no idea about the Pantheon, so I guess we'll see what they're doing with that. Okay, next up is actually Celestial, which you might be surprised both that it's still there, and that if it is still there, it's not my number one. It's not my number one anymore. There are a few above that. I'll be pointing to those here really soon. Celestial still excites me. I like the idea of a very narrative skirmish game that doesn't happen very often. I love the idea of the world that they've built, of the story I've read. It's incredible universe. I could get into it just like I feel I can get into 40k. Like, it's literally at that level. I love the world Celestial. The world building is wild and crazy and like sci-fi and prophetic and super duper cool and political, and I love it. I love all the minis as well. They got giant minis, they got all sorts of cool minis, the actual unit cards and stuff like that. They've shown it off a little bit. Looks pretty cool. This campaign, the one I'm showing you right now, was bad. It was launched with zero lead up to it. They didn't even have like my video showing all the miniatures off on it, right? So they didn't, like, it just wasn't built well. It wasn't planned well. It wasn't timed well. Since then, they've released the first part of Dawn of Madness. That should be arriving soon. Stay tuned for an unboxing of that. I apologize for the delay, but I will be showing that off, of course, as well, and let you know how it compares to the prototype, because I played the prototype way back when. Well, at least as much as I could of the prototype. So super excited about that, of course, also. Celestial, when the time comes, when it's right, I'm so excited for it. Again, it's different than any other skirmish game I have because it's very, very narrative focused and just looks super cool and is way different, and I'm all for it. Again, differentiator is what I'm looking for here. Sort of. You see, the next one is DC Superheroes United. I don't know why it's DC Superheroes United and they don't just call it DC United, Was it Marvel Superheroes United and I just missed it and just called it Marvel United? I don't know. I didn't get the Marvel one. I probably should, but it's a little late now. And it's one of those things, just like Arcadia Quest way back in the day, where because I missed the campaign, I now feel like I've lost out from so much, or I'd be paying such a premium price compared to it. It turns me off from even owning the thing to begin with, which really sucks. But I don't know if you've ever been in that situation where it's like, that game looks great, but I know what was on the campaign and I know the price of the campaign and I feel like I missed out. And now it's like, anytime I see it at retail or anything like that, I'm like, that's a lesser version and it costs more. Like, why would I get that? So, kind of a bummer. At the time, I was really focused on not spending a lot on what I felt was a filler game. However, reading your comments, especially as you guys have informed me, is especially over time with the other campaigns that they did and stuff, they really added a lot of layers to it. So you can make it more complex if you want, and you can make it less, and just kind of depends. But it's been on people's top like lists of like, you know, easy to play games. And I've recently, especially with the move and all that, really focused on quick to table, easy games. Now, also small games, and this is not one of those, right? Because of the miniatures, and it's certainly not cheap. All that to say is I like DC more than Marvel anyway. I like them both, don't get me wrong, but DC does have a special place in my heart, and many of my favorite characters come from DC. So super excited about DC United. That looks cool to me. I'm excited. July 2024. I will definitely be there, probably spending far too much money. This is what I mean when I talk about saving. I know this is going to be a lot. See, look at all this stuff. I know it's going to be a huge amount of expansions of that. I don't suspect it's going to be as big as Marvel. And even at the end of the Marvel, and they were doing some freaking deep cuts. And I think they're going to get to deep cuts a little bit quicker for DC because less people know about the various heroes. But anyway, I'm excited for it. But again, I want to plan accordingly. I want to save up, right? A lot of these that I'm showing, right? Celestial and Mythic Battles, right? DC, all of those are going to be big. I don't know about Grim Coven. I started saying I'm worried about that. Cyberpunk, I'm not sure what all they have on offer there. I don't think it's going to be as pricey. So that one's going to be kind of a more normal back for me. But these other ones are heavy ones, and I want to be able to go into it because I want to enjoy the ones that I really think I'm going to enjoy. That's why we save up. But by the way, thank you to my patrons for supporting me, even as I took a break from YouTube. The YouTube algorithm can be hit or miss. It can pay well, it cannot. It just all depends. And I don't want to chase views and all that kind of stuff just to be able to fund this hobby. So the fact that I can rely on you guys, again, thank you so much. All right. Anyway, I got two more. I think one of them is new to these kind of lists, and one of them is not. One of them I've definitely covered before. So if you've watched my channel, you might know what's coming up. But this one is going to be Odalin, Dungeons of Doom. This one has surprised me. When they first showed it, it looked a little like more Tenaris to me. This is by Dragori Games. And again, 11,000 people have followed this. So that's pretty exciting. It does help, of course, that they're saying, hey, follow to get this. And if you back on day one, you get Abaddon, the Lord of Hell, which looks amazing. I don't know. Is this just a day one unlock? Is it a day one back? And if you backed on day two, you don't get this main one. Maybe it's just for free and it's otherwise not for free. But I think the whole objective is to go after the Lord of Hell because that's how the video makes it out to seem. So I don't know. Either way, as you can tell, the miniatures I think look great. Again, they use Starry Games for manufacturing, so their miniatures are really good when it comes to the detail level. I don't see any colored minis here, so I think they've learned from that, so that's good. So these should all just look really good out of the box. Again, they do pre-painted really well. They do like clear plastic, colored plastics really well. So the minis are going to be great. This reminds me a little bit of like a Diablo old school style. Pick your character and go through there. It's got some really cool mechanics when it comes to... it kind of reminds me of Dawn of War 2 a little bit in the sense that where you had like edge between chaos and not chaos and like, you know, I'm being corrupted but I'm gaining power kind of thing. So it talks about that. It talks about all these different abilities that you can like slot in different abilities. There's a lot here that looks really cool to me. And I have it on the table right over here because I'm going to be unboxing it, so stay tuned for that. If you haven't subscribed to go ahead to, you don't trust YouTube to show you with the algorithm, it still is not forgiving me, and there are patrons that don't even see my videos right now, okay? So if you want to see it, be sure to subscribe. That'll help. At least tell the algorithm, hey, I want to see that video. Maybe it'll help a little bit, but I will be unboxing that. It has a whole separate box just for miniatures. I'm so excited. I haven't opened it yet. but I will. So that'll actually be coming here very soon. So stay tuned for that. And finally, my number one. If you want to, because I'd be curious, pause the video. Let me know what you think my number one is. Now, you've seen everything else I've listed. If you guys have seen my previous videos, you know what I've been covering. But I don't know if you remember this game is coming because as far as I'm concerned, again, I've been kind of detached, but it seems like it's been quiet, right? But I have not forgotten. I'm still excited. I'll give you a hint. There is a big black game box from this company that I haven't unboxed from their previous campaign. I was in an Airbnb. It wasn't about to get unboxed there, and I feel bad for that. I still want to unbox it and show it off to you guys, especially when you can like late pledge it. But it's from the same company, so I think it's their next thing after this. The Diablo board game from Glass Cannon. I am so pumped for this, guys. You have no idea how much I love Diablo. My wife and I have played so much Diablo 2 in our lives. It's unhealthy. It's unhealthy. And we're better now, and we haven't done it in a while. I think the last AARPG we played was it Torchlight 2 that we played together? I think it may have been the last one we played together. We tried the beta of Diablo 3, hated it because I got like boots that made it quicker. It's like, I want my stats to increase. What is this, like, World of Warcraft style, like mundane thing? Then they ended up making that pretty cool, and then 4 came out, and we all know that. But Diablo 2 in particular was huge for us. A huge game for us. We're both AARPG fans, so I'm excited about that. ARPG fans. I'm pumped. The one thing that's interesting here is they have the role-playing game and the board game, but then most of the talk is around the board game or the RPG. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen with the board game, but that's what I'm excited about. We don't role play, so we're not doing TTRPGs, but the board game, super pumped about. I'm excited. I don't know if they're going to do it. I don't think there's been a really great ARPG feel in a board game. It's kind of hard because it's all about class builds, right? It's all about loot, and it's all about having essentially like steamrolling through common enemies, but then getting these elites that can pair with those that then do that. Like Massive Darkness got kind of close with that, and then big boss battles. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Either way, I'm excited for it. Love the IP. So, yeah. There's only 2 here. 3 here that are IP related. I don't like all 3 of the IPs, of course. I don't think that's that bad. Hopefully, it's not just an IP fest. There's a lot of, like, Odalin, brand new. The first game outside of Tenera, so I'm excited about that. Or Grim Coven. I guess that's Bloodborne without the IP. So, yeah, maybe I am just stuck in it. I don't know, guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you're doing. This is a fun one to go through. Hopefully I explained why I'm interested in all of these, either from a historical context or because of my game collection or my circumstance or anything like that. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Let me know what your list is, especially on ones that maybe you either disagree with or additional ones you think I should take a look at. Guys, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Take care, guys. Bye.